Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic weekend. And I'm excited for today's show as Howie Roseman has signed another massive Australian offensive lineman. And you look at what the Eagles have done this offseason. Added a bunch of marquee players in NFL free agency, including notable names like Saquon Barkley, Bryce Huff, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Devin White. And then in the NFL draft, Philadelphia put together a terrific draft class, which includes the likes of Quinyon Mitchell, DeJean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. On top of all of those moves, Philadelphia's given out contract extensions to Landon Dickerson, Jordan Milada, Devontae Smith, and a contract extension to A.J. Brown. Then the UDFA class following the draft features the names of Gabe Hall, Kendall Milton, and a couple of developmental offensive tackles with really good and tantalizing size, including the player who we're going to talk about here on today's show. As Howie Roseman has not stopped improving this roster and making moves that are splash moves, important moves, depth moves, trying to improve the football team, but developmental moves as well. This Australian offensive tackle, who the Eagles have signed through the International Pathway Program, and it's going to take him a long while to develop, a very similar story to that of fellow Aussie Jordan Milada, is Laekin Vakalahi. He is 6'5", 318 pounds, 21 years old from Brisbane, Australia. He has never played a down of American football, just like Jordan Milada growing up. Never played a down of American football. The Eagles discovered him as a rugby player, and with his huge size, they saw him pulling out the Madden truck stick on rugby players, and they were like, okay, could he play offensive tackle if he adds some weight? Welcome to Jeff Stoutland University. Let's develop you. And now Jordan Milada, a top 5 highest paid offensive tackle in football. Now, Vakalahi has been signed by the Eagles as an undrafted free agent. They're going to try to develop him along the offensive line with an international player roster exemption. So he's not going to count, of course, toward the 53. They can have him on the roster as part of the International Pathway Program without having to cut him, because the NFL is trying to grow the game, but also see some of these developmental prospects stick with these organizations to be pretty good success stories. And if this sounds familiar to the Jordan Milada story, it is. Milada was discovered by the Eagles as a rugby player down under, or as the Aussies would say, down under. My dad grew up in Melbourne, Australia. Still have some family members there. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. And he was taken by the Eagles in the 7th round of the 2018 draft and has turned into one of the best offensive linemen in the game. Last year, he was the 3rd highest offensive tackle graded according to Pro Football Focus, and he got the bag this offseason, and a couple of years ago, he's done pretty good for himself. It's not to say that Laekin Vakalahi is going to be the next Jordan Milada, but it's certainly an interesting story and an interesting developmental project. Rather than playing football or any other sport in recent seasons, Vakalahi, who has a 35-inch arm length, 11-inch hands, and an 83-inch wingspan, those measurables are ridiculous, by the way, has spent the last 2 years completing his mission service in Wellington, New Zealand. Now, as for how he came onto the Eagles' radar, ESPN Tim McManus did a great job of describing all of this. It's a story of pure chance, and the extent to which the international search for talent reaches for teams like Philadelphia, with general manager Howie Roseman's scouting department having previously registered early scores in the region with Milada. It's a bit of a funny story, said Vakalahi. My mom and my dad were in Hawaii just on a holiday, and a friend of Eagles international scout, Chris Naoli, hopefully I pronounced that right, walked past my dad and saw that he was a big guy, and he started talking to him. They had a conversation, and my dad said, I've got some boys. So they started talking about my younger brother, Kobe. He's a big boy, but he's not of age. They got to talking about me, and this guy wanted to get me in contact with Chris Naoli. I was serving a mission trip at the time for my church. So once Vakalahi's mission service had ended, a workout was set up with Naoli, Eagles international scout, as I mentioned, a former first-round pick of the New Orleans Saints in 1997, flying in and heading to a unique spot in the New Zealand capital. 10 minutes from the Wellington airport, there's a soccer field. I said, hey, let's go there. It'll do the job. He started teaching me all these different stances and got me doing different drills to show my power, technique, and flexibility. Man, I was so puffed. I think that means he was very exhausted, but it was a good workout. And the Australian dialogue here is incredible. I was so puffed, mate. My mom and dad, Brisbane, Australia, g'day. While the sport is brand new to the raw prospect born in Auckland, New Zealand, the process of learning the game and tackling the physical nature of line of scrimmage is one that he's relishing. I never thought I'd play American football, Vakalahi said. The closest I ever got was playing Madden on my Xbox, and I only played on a free trial, so it was always the Green Bay Packers, he said, laughing. Being down in a 3 or 2 point stance, I definitely wasn't used to that. I'm still definitely working on it. I still have a long way to go, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it. I love the feeling. Before starting football, I just love the idea of getting fired up and getting aggressive in the gym, lifting weights. So I think that same mentality will help me translate over to football as well as my rugby background. This sounds like something out of a movie. The Jordan Milada story, hopefully at some point, is going to be turned into a movie. The Eagles doing these types of things is incredible. They're incredible stories to follow, and I can't wait to see the development of him. Now, his picture is on the thumbnail of this video. You can certainly search his name a little bit. He's massive, wingspan, arm length, always important for offensive linemen to try to keep these defensive linemen at bay and away from them in their pass protection and in their run sets. But you can tell he's a little bit skinny. So he's going to need to bulk up a little bit. But this guy, like Milada, doesn't grow up playing any football, only knows about American football through playing Madden on a free trial. And the Eagles international scout sees his dad and he's like, you have any sons? Yeah, I got a couple sons. One's not of age, but here's the other one. And they set up a workout and he impresses. And now the Philadelphia Eagles are signing him with an international program exemption. It just doesn't sound real. So I wanted to pass along that story here on Philadelphia Eagles Now because it's so unique. It's so special. And look at what Jordan Milada has become. Now, he has more of a rugby background, and I think that has helped his agility, his footwork, his physicality, his endurance. But who's to say that in a couple of years, we're not going to see another Jordan Milada story? This is why you subscribe to the show. I haven't seen anybody talking about this on YouTube. We are right here on Eagles Now, so hit that sub button. Be on the lookout for coverage every single day on the Birds because that's what we do. And if you're watching from Australia, let me know. Give me an Aussie down in the comments section. I'm Chase Sr. Catch you next time.